And one of the biggest components of like the Western diet that you vilify is like seed oils, and you think it's responsible for a lot of the issues that come with, you know, metabolic dysfunction nowadays and whatnot. In like a eucaloric model or even like a calorie deficit, do you still see the like linoleic acid density of foods doing the same things, or is it in the context of somebody who's like eating in a surplus in general where you see these issues crop up in conjunction with the linoleic acid content?
Yeah, linoleic acid is super fascinating. So, I mean, didn't the guy do the Twinkie experiment where he like lost weight and improved his insulin sensitivity eating Twinkies in a caloric deficit? So I think we know that in humans, if you have a caloric deficit, you can eat freaking whatever you want. Like you could eat probably pure sugar and pure seed oils in a caloric deficit and see your insulin sensitivity improve. Long term, I don't think that's very sustainable for humans. And I do worry, or would hypothesize, that when you return to a normal caloric diet, that your satiety is going to be off. Obviously, your nutrient adequacy is going to be low. And I think that long term, you are probably putting yourself in a pretty disadvantageous position from a satiety perspective in your brain. And I worry that's the kind of thing that's hard to quantify in a short-term study. So somebody does a calorie restricted Twinkie diet, and then they come back and they've pumped, you know, a bunch of processed sugar and seed oils into their adipocytes and cell membranes throughout the body. Do they then have some altered satiety later that's going to make it hard to maintain a good body weight or a healthy body composition? That's what I would worry about. But I do think most of what we see with linoleic acid is normal caloric or hypercaloric, because one of the potential problems with linoleic acid is that it affects satiety and causes people to overeat. That's a very interesting thing. There are these cannabinoids. 2-AG is one of them. It's been studied in animal models predominantly, but we do see things in humans that suggest that that's an important thing. Also, like rimonabant is a very effective weight loss drug, and it works on this cannabinoid system. It also makes people suicidal, but it actually can affect satiety in a positive way, meaning increasing satiety by giving people rimonabant. It's an incredibly effective weight loss drug, but it turns out blocking the CB1 receptor, I believe is what it is. I don't know if it has much activity at the CB2 receptor, is great for satiety because these cannabinoids, whether endogenous or exogenous, affect satiety negatively. They make you more hungry. People know this from weed, the munchies, but it also is effective for proper mood, and people get suicidal and depressed when you give them rimonabant. So, yeah, it's not a good thing. But I think that so calorie restricted diets it's not sustainable for any human. Like that's a prison. Yeah. Nobody wants to live that way for the rest of their life. And what's most interesting for me from a weight loss perspective is how to let people eat to satiety and also achieve a good body composition. That's the holy grail. Like nobody's suffering. Nobody's like, I don't want to eat that. I want to eat that, but I can't eat that because I'm going to get fat. It's like, can we get people to a position? And I think we can, that's just my guess, where they can eat basically to satiety of a select group of high quality foods and still achieve a good body composition. That's living to me. That's a higher quality of life.
Do you know what your daily calorie intake and macros are by chance? Like, I'm assuming you don't track that meticulously, but do you have like a ballpark idea? Because like you're pretty lean. You're like, I don't know, 10% body fat or something and exercise regularly and, or a healthy individual and exercise enough to make use of those calories. Like do you know where that lies ballpark?
Yeah. So I don't track it religiously. I'm probably, I would say 200 to 225 grams of protein per day. That's pretty consistent because I'm getting some protein from cheese and dairy. And I also have 2 pounds of meat and some organs, maybe even 240 grams of protein per day. I think with all the honey and fruit I'm eating, I'm probably 200 to 250 grams of carbohydrates a day. And then the fat is probably the hardest one to estimate. If you think about cheese, and when I do ground beef, it's 20% ground beef. When I do steaks, they have ribeyes. I would say I'm close to 200 grams of fat a day, if not maybe a little more. So those are my ballpark macros. I think that's pretty reasonable. And if you do the math, I think it's like 3,200 calories a day or more.
How many grams of carbs again?
2 to 250.
Okay, so we're at like 8. I have like 3560 on a calculator here.
Yeah.
3,560.
Yeah,
so
I wouldn't doubt it.
240 grams protein would be 960 calories. And then you have the 200 carbs, which would be 800 calories. And then, so that's 1760. And then you said the 200 fat, was it?
Probably 150, 200 fat. Yeah.
9 plus, yeah, 3,560. So staying that lean with that much intake, like it's pretty fucking good.
I don't doubt it, man. I mean, I think that's probably where I'm at. And to be fair, so when I'm in Costa Rica, I'm surfing 2 hours every morning. I love it. That's why I'm there. And then I'll come home and I don't do anything crazy. I don't do chronic cardio. I don't have a stair stepper. I don't run. I will lift weights, but it's not crazy. It's really not anything out of the ordinary, which is probably why, you know, like I have moderate muscle, but not massive muscle. So I'll do front squats a few days a week, maybe once or twice a week. I'll do, you know, a few sets of front squats. I'll do pull-ups every day, 2 or 3 sets. I'll do some dips just because I like it between working. And then, you know, some days I'll do a few Nordic curls, and some days I'll go to the skate park and skate. That's going to burn some calories, but I'm not in the gym 2 hours a day after I surf by any stretch of the imagination. It actually, it surprises me sometimes. And it's like, okay, like I think I do have a healthy metabolism. And I wonder, this is that age old question around where does most of our caloric burning come from? Like how much of it is from basal metabolic rate? Presumably I have a pretty good basal metabolic rate. Obviously muscle is going to burn calories. And I've never really thought that the idea that you could lose weight by exercising was going to be sustainable for humans anyway. Because I think if you're burning enough calories with your exercise, are you going to affect your thyroid negatively or cortisol? Like I definitely think building lean muscle mass by some sort of resistance exercise is critical for humans. But I've never really been attracted to the notion that you need to do an hour of cardio a day, or to really get really lean is by doing cardio every day. Cause I don't. Some people would say, oh, you surf every day. And it's like, yeah, but sometimes I get 3 waves in 2 hours and I don't do anything out there.
Damn.